Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Foster Talks. And today I have an author with me who has brought out a very interesting genre into India. We don't really have too much of dark fantasy books in India. We know fantasy, all of us know Harry Potter, all of us know a lot of other fantasy books, but how many Indian authored fantasy books do we really know about? Not much, right? So I have an author with me today, SP Mittson, an empath turned author who's been an avid reader, an avid writer who's very passionate about what she is doing currently. And we're going to be talking about her book, The Wandering Star, today in the episode of Foster Talks. Welcome, SP Mittson, to the episode. Thank you so much for being here today. So my first question to you is, you're a CA by profession.
Yes.
You have done an MBA.
In finance.
And that too in finance. Yes. And then now you're also an author, right? These are like poles apart. How are you managing this, and what was this transition like for you?
I've always been into writing, because as you say, I was an empath by nature. So I always been into writing. Like I was reading books, or even if I'm went up, I need to write my things down. Either it came into form of a poetry or a short story, but I always write down my feelings. So that how it came now. When COVID came, till then I was working and everything was fine. When COVID came, everyone's life got into a stop. There was a pause. At that time, I needed my energy to venting up my energy. At that time I started writing again.
Interesting. COVID, a good thing came out of COVID.
Yes.
Another good thing that
Yes.
came out of COVID. Well, finally your book was launched and you have a massive, amazing launch event.
Yes.
Your launch trailer, I came across your trailer, The Wandering Stars trailer, that crossed millions of views.
Yes.
What was your feelings towards these? I mean, how did you take it? The complete good reach that you were getting in?
It was very new to me. I wasn't expecting this much because it's my first book. I didn't know what to expect, to be very frank. And whatever it came to be like, wow, everything was very new and everything was very good. So I was enjoying every part of it. It was like, I'm enjoying the journey right now.
Nice. How is it going along so far, and how are you seeing the near future?
I am shooting for the stars. I'm really shooting for the stars right now. But yes, I want that everyone should know what The Wandering Star is.
Lovely, amazing.
Yes.
So you've been a very active bookstagrammer. You have a
Yes.
crazy following on your Instagram page also, and 80,000 is no joke. That's a huge investment of time. So you being a bookstagrammer and being an author, did one journey lead to another, or is it just that you were a bookstagrammer but you always had the plan to write a book? Like,
No,
is that a
I
connection?
was more into writing.
Okay.
It was later on I started reading.
Okay.
First of all, I was into writing. I used to write like some quotes or some poems, and everything was there. But when I started reading the books like Sarah J. Maas, Penelope Douglas, Holy Black, these authors were there and they literally encouraged me. And it's like, I can, and at one time I really was reading a book and I was like, I can do that. I can write that.
Interesting.
So that's how I started writing a fantasy book.
That's interesting. So I was going through your press release, the one interview you gave during your launch event, the YouTube video that got released. And it was interesting when you said that you were inspired a lot by the ancient myths and stories that were passed along through generations, right?
Yes.
So did this inspire you in any way while you were creating your book?
It did, because there are some facts. If you read it very deeply, you will find there is some hidden facts about Hindu mythology in there, even though it's complete a high fantasy. But there are certain facts that obviously where you come from, the origin, it always gets reflected in your writing.
Interesting. Okay. Now deep diving a little bit into the book. So we have the protagonist, the Eloise.
Yes.
So here she is somebody who is exploring through a lot of self-discovery. So it's a great theme to explore as well, because this is something that all of us in our day-to-day life also today is technically trying to explore. What is it that we like? What are we good at? Where should I be? What am I? And these are questions that we ourselves are asking. So how did you develop these characters? Because when I read the book, she was in some. I had a perspective about her at the start of the book in some particular way. By the time it was over, I was like, "Wow, girl, you've grown up." So that was huge a change. So how did you build these characters, and what were your thought processes?
So I generally, when I think about my characters, I always create an arc. I always build a character. I always build their backstories. Whenever it's not that, whenever I'm writing, I feel like there is something I want a character here. So I build a character, I create their backstories, I create what kind of powers they're gonna have, or what will be their weaknesses, or what will be their strengths. I always write and jot it down. What will be this, how they're gonna look, what will their reflection will be, and eye color will be. Everything I plotted down in my plotting board. I keep them and I use it.
Interesting. So that's how you write anything? Because I've heard authors telling it that some people just start thinking of an idea, they just go with the flow and they write it. I always
develop my characters first, at least main characters first. Like if I'm not writing a fantasy, it's just a rom-com or something like that. So even if then I create they're gonna be major 5 characters over there. If I think about it, I'll always characterize them. Okay, what will be he'll be into, or what the protagonist will be into, FMC into. So I always categorize them.
Again, continuing about the characters, we have 2 other main characters, Kayden and Homer. So Kayden, again, I felt that when you started off, I was like, oh, who's he? But then he turned out to be who he is. But again, when I'm looking at it this way, Eloise, Kayden, Homer, they were completely 3 different people. They're different characters, different qualities in them. So how confusing is it for a writer when you're developing these characters? How confusing it gets for you, and how do you actually ensure that? Because I believe when you're writing about somebody's perspective, one of the character for Kayden, for example, you become Kayden.
Yes.
That's what I've heard from a lot of authors. So when you're writing so different characters, how do you manage it? What is your routine like?
It's not like that. I generally when I'm writing about Homer, or I always get into his character. I read it I've written a chapter about. So I just read what kind of a language he's using, or what kind of a dialogue, or what kind of the way he gonna react to certain situations. It's always there in mind. Just you have to switch that board on. Like Homer, Kayden, Eloise, you have to just switch it on.
Nice. Wow. Okay. I hope the upcoming titles of yours still have more new characters coming in.
Yes.
Wow, that's going to be really confusing for you. I'm sure your plotting board is...
Because actually, I do have a lot of characters. People say that I introduced many characters, and I'm going to introduce more characters. So I'm a little bit okay, fine. But because I want to do people don't, because I have seen when you are reading about only same characters again and again, so things get monotonous. So I want to introduce more characters.
So I'm just curious because you're an empath by nature, and you're telling me when you're writing about each characters, your lights keep blinking. You're this person now, you're this person another. So how does this emotional transformation being in each of the characters' shoes affect you personally?
Actually, these people, the certain events that I have written, and these are my feelings, what I have felt throughout till now, from school, from college, or whatever I have been through. These are my feelings at certain point of time, what I have felt. So what that feeling was while there's this character who's been bullied. So what he was feeling at that time, so I wrote it down, what I was feeling that time. So if that kind of bullying is being continued by somebody, so how will he feel?
Okay.
So this is what I, being a writer, elaborate.
Now coming through your journey as a writer, is there a particular point you decided that you really want to now start writing a book? Let me think of an idea. Or was it that you always had an idea of a story in the back of the head, and you finally, thanks to COVID, you started writing?
Yes, it was always there.
You always wanted to write a fantasy?
Yes, it was there because I was 16 when I wrote my first fantasy.
Okay.
Then my friends read it. It was on my diary.
Yeah.
So, and they were like, wow, dude, you write this?
Nice.
So it was very emotional.
Okay.
So still, it was like it had full with emotions and everything. Then I wrote another story when I was 21.
Okay.
And it was on my laptop. And many of my friends read that too. And they were like, this concept is very new. And it's all about shifters, like shifter trance. So that's what I started writing about shifters.
Wow.
And I always had in mind, and COVID just give it a
What happened to
push.
those age-old books?
Those books, they are still with me.
Any plans to bring it to light someday?
Maybe.
Okay. Let's see. There is a flashback coming in any of your future books, and we might be able to read it. I hope so. I really hope so.
Yes.
How do you find the time? Because you have a profession, and being a CA is not an easy job. It's one of the toughest profiles that you can actually find. And you have a baby.
Yes.
You're in a joint family.
Yes.
All of that is put together, and you found the time to actually write a book.
Yes.
So how do you manage all of that?
It was because I just told you that COVID in office was not we are not working and everything was at stop. So at that time I used to write during night.
Okay.
But every time whenever I'm writing, I want peace around me.
Okay.
So it's always either 11 to 3 or 4, something like that. And whenever I start writing, I don't know where time flies. I've written 1 chapter, 2 chapters. It was like, it's already 5 a.m. How?
Okay.
But I really enjoy my writing.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the craziest feedback you got about the book so far?
The craziest feedback?
Good or bad, either way, but it's like crazy.
So some of this person said, because it's an enemies to lover trope. So there was this girl and she said, I've never enjoyed enemies to lover trope.
Okay.
She said I was not in, but if this is how the enemies to lover trope is gonna be, I'm gonna read every enemies to lover trope
Whoa,
now.
nice. That's a nice feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, even I think when I read the book also, somewhere you know that these people will come together, but then while reading the book, it came out as a surprise, and I was like, wow, never expected. So that was actually a good turnaround in the book itself. What are your future works going to be looking like?
I want to explore other genres also,
Okay.
not like because if you have read it's gonna be something like rom-com where people are writing they are saying this, they are enjoying the romantic
Yes.
fantasy thing.
Yes.
So I think so. I will work in romantic fantasies.
Got it. So this says book 1 of the Shifters Trance,
Yes.
right? So how many book is this gonna be?
Right now I haven't, because I'm just writing right now,
Okay.
so it's gonna be on my publisher. How many parts is gonna ask me to do it? But yes, I think so 3 or 4.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yes.
And then, but why fantasy as a genre?
I'm too wild to write a normal book, like a non-fiction book. You
Okay.
can say that.
Interesting. Is there any learning that you really received, like while you were exploring your journey as an author? What was the biggest learning that you had for yourself during that
so
journey?
I've explored so many cultures.
Okay.
There were so many myths and so many, I have read, because when you start writing, you do some research work, right? And when you do some research work, you get to know about so many things you haven't read about. Like some history part is there that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
There's some Vedas that you didn't know about because you don't want to write wrong.
Yeah.
So there were too much learning, I should say.
Lovely.
Yes.
Amazing. And what is your support system like? Because you are being with the family, you're writing late at night. I'm sure you have a supporting family is why you're able to do it.
Yes.
But at the same time, other than your family, including your family, what has your support system been like for this?
My friends, they have always, because the people who have read my book, they have always been like, please get it published because you write it very well.
Nice.
One of my friends used to read it throughout her metro journey. Every day she used to go to office and come back from office. So she used to read my book only.
Amazing.
So I used to get a call from night also, like it's 3 a.m. because I never send a whole draft. I always send chapters and chapters. So one time I got called at 2 a.m. or something. It's like, I need next chapter. I want to know what's happening. And I was like, I'm sleeping. No, I want next chapter.
Oh, wow.
So these are the kind of things that triggered I can do something.
Great. Thanks to your publishers, that your entire passion is now finally there. And thanks to Noise Stress for that actually. You are a debut author who's been doing really well. Is there a tip, an advice, a learning, a message that you want to give to any other debut authors out there, or people are struggling to actually bring their work forward?
See, to be very frank, in my whole journey, I feel like publishing is still, writing is the easiest job.
Yeah.
Publishing is a bit difficult, but marketing a book is the difficult job. Making people to read your book is the difficult job because you are the debut one. It's your brand. You are coming out with a new brand, something new. So just to convince them how to read the book, this is gonna be the biggest one. The
Interesting.
toughest job.
Yeah.
Right now, that's what I was facing.
But what do you suggest that people should maybe do more in case they've already published their book from somewhere, self-publishing or however?
However it is there, whether it's the self-published, I always support indie authors. I never because your story, content, everything you do, everything end mein content hi bikta hai.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Definitely.
It's either self-published or either every writer is being through their journey, going through their journey, and सबके कंटेंट अच्छे होते हैं. मैं ये नहीं कहती कि किसका सबने अपनी लाइफ में सफर किया है, सब कुछ हर जगह हर कोई पहुंचा है, बट हाँ, this is what I feel like you have to work on your marketing skills.
Interesting. One last question to you is, if the book is getting adapted into a movie, where would you want the movie to be shot? Which location? And who would you want the actors to be?
Okay,
The three main characters, I would say.
three main characters. So, obviously, the girl Eloise will be Millie Bobby Brown.
Okay.
And the guy will be Jacob Elordi.
Okay.
And Homer can be taken as... I've never thought about what Homer gonna be.
Oh yeah? Poor Homer, I feel bad for you.
But obviously, I've always what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's gonna be Jacob Elordi, but I think so. Okay, Homer, I don't know.
Okay, so let's come back to you. We can put an audition. That's
Yes.
okay. And where is this gonna be shooting?
This is gonna be in Queenstown, New Zealand.
Wow, that's gonna be
place.
beautiful. That actually can be a Murkwood.
Actually, that's where the Murkwood is being inspired from.
Oh, lovely, amazing. And I'm sure that you'll definitely find the connections there.
Yes.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much for the lovely conversation. And I wish you all the very best with the
Thank
book.
you.
I can see that it's doing amazingly well already. Because social media is filled with the Wandering Star. Anywhere you turn around, it's filled with the Wandering Star. And you had all those merchandise. People are going crazy about your all the merchandise that you created, the character cards. Those are beautiful stuff, by the way.
Thank you.
So thanks for all the inputs that you've been giving to the authors and readers along the way. And wishing you all the very best with Wandering Star and all the upcoming books of your Shifter's Trance and the other, hopefully, rom-coms and I don't know, whatever books are coming in from you in the future. Thank you so much for being here, Mittson, and wishing you all the very best.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
Thank you.